Hello everyone, watch this review here where they look at Selphie Tilmitt. That's how her name's actually pronounced, but never 100% sure. From Play Arts, I guess Final Fantasy VIII Wave. Really not sure how their line kind of associates that stuff. Picked this one up for about for $15 from my local, I guess, game store, let's call it. Possibly a character I wouldn't have bought otherwise. They also had some other stuff there, but mostly ones I already owned. Eh. Kind of interestingly enough, I don't notice like stickers or something on the box, and I thought some of them had like stickers to sort of mention the authenticity, or I don't know. I'm assuming it's probably not a bootleg just because it went through a sort of semi-chain, so generally, if you're just buying from an individual store, maybe it's a bootleg, but chains typically do group buys they get from other distributors, etc. So, yeah. Hold on a second, I'll get her out pack. Selphie comes with, I guess, some of the usual stuff that we expect from the line, including a stand which you have to assemble, which basically consists of popping this part of this, an alternate set of hands, and then her weapons, these crazy baton things, which, you know, I always thought were kind of cool. It's nice, sort of a mix between nunchucks, batons, whatever, but, yeah. As for the figure itself, you know, aspects of the quality, including the paint, just half make me think this might even be a bootleg. Although, supposedly the quality level on some of this stuff can be rather suspect at times, so it does make it a little bit hard to determine for sure. Yeah. One of the most sort of interesting features about this, and actually probably the only really interesting feature, is that the dress itself is a soft rubbery plastic, which is partially, I guess, removable. It's glued towards the midsection here, but above it you can actually move it around a bit. So if you want to display her with one of the straps down, or both straps down, for whatever reason, you can. And then, of course, this allows the legs to move a little bit more smoothly, although you do eventually hit a definite point where it can't go any further. I understand the logic of doing it like this, just because that's for definite movement. The upper port's a little bit more confusing, but hey, whatever. You know, it's definitely a neater aspect for display and stuff, and gives a more, I guess, realistic approach to the material. Now, personally, I wasn't a huge fan of Final Fantasy VIII. Something about it just kind of turned me off. I'm not sure if it was the story or just that a lot of the characters were kind of annoying. I guess I did kind of like the general love story. Some of the villains, like Adia, were pretty neat, especially the end of Disc 1. That was a really cool scene, but I don't know. As I got further on, I found myself caring less and less about the characters, although the sort of idiot crybaby Zell managed to stay in my party pretty much from the beginning to the end. Something about just the general look of the character was pretty neat. Selphie, though, she got benched almost immediately as soon as I got another character. Now, I'm trying to remember who I had in my party half the time. I assume it's probably just Squall, Renoa, and Zell most of it, and occasionally maybe Irvine. I don't know, that's totally off topic. I can't say that I'm entirely impressed by this figure, although, you know, it's a good likeness of the character. You know, there definitely does have the articulation stuff. You know, I think a lot of that also just comes down to the facial expression. In the game, the character is happy most of the time, she's really energetic, but this face, it's just kind of bland. You know, it doesn't really convey the energy that the character had. Now, I realized that I was actually blocking the shot when I was trying to show you this earlier, but the straps do come down to the side. Now, obviously, you know, the dress isn't removable or anything, but you probably already saw this when I was doing the shots of the character walking and stuff, but Yes, they even sculpted her panties and painted them in. So, it's a very thorough company. Fortunately, it's actually one of the defects of mine comes from. It's got this weird mark where they didn't really finish painting it. Which I guess is just as well, because I probably won't be displaying the figure that often from that position. Generally, it'll probably just be normal action poses. Nothing, whoa, too crazy. Now, the sort of neat thing with these figures is they do have a good amount of foot pivot, which is always cool. You know, just a good all-around movement, although occasionally they'll have issues standing and stuff, but that's where these things come in. So, they really cover all the bases with the line, despite it being a bit more expensive than other, toy lines. Now, to give you a quick idea of scale, let me bring in, the great and powerful ninja Yuffie, whom actually is a little bit shorter. I have Squall around here too. By which I really mean Cloud. Actually, it's kind of weird that for 2 games in a row they did sort of weather-related characters or sky-related characters. This is the Kingdom Hearts version. Once again, it's shorter, which is kind of strange because I thought Selphie was a bit on the shorter side. But then again, I think the player arts line doesn't really work to scale, which is kind of bothersome, so whatever. Just know that the Selphie figure is rather tallish. Though, it's probably not insanely tallish. Now, to switch the hands, you just pull out the current ones. They're just normal pegs, so they don't have outward-inward motion, which, kind of sucks, but whatever. And these are basically just here so they can peg directly into the batons or nunchuck thingies. Just gives one other alternate display option. Just bear in mind that, with the way the normal hands are posed, they can also use the things, kind of, so I don't know. Not sure what the purpose of the other sword is, but hey, alternate set of hands, can't ever go wrong. All in all, not terribly impressed by this figure. They have a really glossy plastic and stuff for the skin portions, which I've never really been fond of. The clothing, of course, does have paint, and a fair deal of paint, although the amount of layering, texturing, and the general style is just sort of inappropriate to the character, given that her outfit, just looked like it was more of a plain yellow, rather than all this detail. Although, granted, it's a PS1 game, so maybe they always intended the extra detail. I don't know. Boots, of course, also features paint, but it's not as in depth. Then the hair, I know it's got a bit of color to it. It's got some lighter browns as well as the deeper ones. Quick run through of articulation. Rotation at wrist, single joint here at the elbow, rotation right above the elbow, which I do like on female figures. Partially, because it's more convenient having over there, but bicep joints on female characters usually doesn't look cool. Head has more down than up, just because of the hair in the back. The necklace is on a chain. Actually looks like she's got, For a second it looked like a Griever, the ring that, Squall wears, and then later it gives to Renoa. I can't tell whether or not she has waist articulation because of the dress, but you can kind of get side motion. I don't know. Leg has really limited sort of outward motion. You can go forward a little bit, back a little bit, so you do have the thing despite the dress kind of impeding it. Single joint here at the knee. Rotation at the boot, which is always cool because it's well concealed, and then you have the up-down here, then a side-side pivot. All in all, it is the level of quality that you can kind of expect from the line. The paint, again, a little bit on the weak side, but I mean, it's still not a bad looking figure. It's just a little lackluster compared to some of the other stuff they've done. And I'm not sure if I'll be picking up. Two final things. I don't know if I was clear enough about this, but the legs do have rotation. There's a cut at the upper thigh here, concealed by the dress, which is cool, because wherever you don't have to see a joint, it can still get its function, you know. It's awesome. And also, I wasn't really clear about how far the head can kind of go to the side, which again, you know, is a sort of neat touch.